Namaste. My heartfelt gratitude to all of you for being here. The chosen prayer today from the prayers and meditations of the Mother is a prayer written by the Mother on April 13, 1914. And interestingly, in this edition, it is written as the prayer, along with the date, it is written Karaikal, April 13, 1914. The prayer has a very interesting context and also very inspiring. The prayer is written by the Mother during her experience in a place called Karaikal, a small town in the, you can say, the Union Territory of Puducherry. On her arrival in India, and just 15 days after her first meeting with Sri Aurobindo, she had to go to Karaikal, which was in those days a French enclave. And this was perhaps her first direct experience of the actual India that it was then in its crude outward aspect. The room where she was put up was an old, dilapidated, dark, dingy, dirty room and full of white ants. And the Mother humorously pointed it out once as the paradise of white ants. Now, the prayer, which with my limited mind I have titled as The Vision of the Divine in Everything. It is very synonymous and one can say an equivalent to Sri Aurobindo's Vasudeva experience. But Sri Aurobindo's Vasudeva experience happened during the freedom struggle with all the, you can say, the British attention, and it is very well known. But somehow, the Mother's experience in Karaikal, many people don't know about this. Even in the ashram, as the Mother said, many of the disciples missed out the significance of this experience in Karaikal. What is her experience while she is staying in such a place? Now, in the last prayer, interestingly, on April 10, she asked the Divine for a release of the ego, and she has narrated her experience when she is experiencing complete freedom and release from the ego, and how little the outer circumstances matter to those who have dedicated and consecrated their life fully and integrally to the Lord. And what is this freedom that she is living in? In the Alipur jail, in a small cell the size of a big cage, with a barred door, with not even the grace of privacy, surrounded by thieves, felons, murderers, and scum, Sri Aurobindo had his experience, the Vasudeva experience as we call it, the experience of the divine in each and every thing, every person, every object. He would address that as Krishna. It would seem that it pleases the Lord to reveal himself in the most contrary circumstances. When we look at even Sri Aurobindo's experience in Alipur jail and the Mother's experience in Karaikal. Now, around that room in Karaikal, there were no sylvan surroundings, no murmur of rivers and brooks and streams, no snow-capped mountains of Kailasha, which heighten, one believes, and we often relate it to meditative surroundings which heighten the spiritual experiences. The surroundings, in fact, in that little room where she was put up, were repulsive and unlivable. And staying there for a few days, the Mother actually fell ill physically. But what is her inner state? We follow certain practices, certain routines and habits, and that is okay because that helps in disciplining our nature. But if we get too attached to those routines, habits, and situations, the normal situations, and we cannot accept and adjust to variations in the outer, or you can say the contrary situations that come, with practically no flexibility or no plasticity, then that itself becomes a very big hurdle in the expression of the infinite. This prayer actually reveals the state of the mother when she is put in contrary circumstances and situations which she is not used to at all. And she is so detached, and she is living in the freedom of the expression of the infinite. She has recorded in this prayer a stupendous experience of a unitary consciousness, and it is surely an equivalent, one can say, or synonymous with the great Vasudeva experience of Sri Aurobindo. Let us read this prayer. Karaikal, April 13, 1914. Everything works together to prevent me from remaining a creature of habits, and in this new state, in the midst of these circumstances so complex and unstable, I have never before so completely lived thy immutable peace, or rather, the I has never before disappeared so completely that thy divine peace alone is alive there. All is beautiful, harmonious, and calm. All is full of thee. Thou shinest in the dazzling sun. Thou art felt in the gentle passing breeze. Thou dost manifest thyself in all hearts and live in all beings. There is not an animal, a plant, that does not speak to me of thee, and thy name is written upon everything I see. O my sweet Lord, hast thou at last granted that I may belong entirely to thee, and that my consciousness may be definitively united with thine? What have I done to be worthy of so glorious a happiness? Nothing, except to desire it, to want it with constancy. That is very little. But, O Lord, since now it is thy will and not mine that lives in me, thou wilt be able to make this happiness profitable to all, and its very purpose will be to enable the greatest possible number of beings to perceive thee. Oh, may all know thee, love thee, serve thee. May all receive the supreme consecration. O love, divine love, spread abroad in the world, regenerate life, enlighten the intelligence, break the barriers of egoism, scatter the obstacles of ignorance, shine resplendent as sovereign master of the earth. When we look at the first part of the prayer, the mother is talking of a freedom she is experiencing from her habits and routines, and she is put in very contrary circumstances. But even in the midst of circumstances which are unstable, she has immutable peace, one can say, in unstable circumstances. Now, in the previous prayer, she asked for this freedom from and release from the ego. And it was as if she was being tested. How that release is she going to live now? This is what she is teaching us. She says, everything works together to to prevent me from remaining a creature of habits. And in this new state, in the midst of these circumstances so complex and unstable, I have never before so completely lived thy immutable peace, or rather, the I has never before disappeared so completely that thy divine peace alone is alive here. So here she is teaching us how not to get attached to anything, an external routine, habits, day-to-day activities. It is okay to follow routines, discipline oneself, discipline the nature. But when the situations are not exactly the same as we are used to, what should be our attitude? And it is all right to have habits and routines, but even it is very important when they change, how to surrender completely to the divine and see the divine presence in everything. Now, interestingly, we always relate to the presence of the divine in objects, material, and certain things, certain abstract things. But the situations that are posed to us, are they not having the divine presence in that? Is the situation itself not divine? So one has to also broaden the vision that it is not only in objects or people or plants or animals, it is in everything. You hear the beat or the tinkle of a bell. Is the divine not there? So it is not only in material objects that we can see, concretely feel and touch. It is everywhere. And this is when one starts experiencing this, there is a freedom one experiences, and one can actually see how it is the same consciousness in everything, how it is connecting one to another. In every situation, everything, she is seeing the divine. Now, neither Sri Aurobindo or the mother, nor the mother, they were bothered about the external circumstances and environments ever. Their whole consciousness, thoughts, emotions, they remained always centered in the divine. Now, it is very interesting that sometimes one is also reminded of an interesting experience which Chachaji has narrated, Chachaji, Surendranath Johar. Once a Naga sadhu, he visited the ashram, and he of course is, he came with all his disciples and all, so he would not even step into the hall without a disciple putting a leaf in front of him. So before the Naga sadhu would step, a disciple would come and place a leaf in front of his foot, and he would place his foot there, and that's how he moved in the ashram. So everything is fine. Chachaji said everything is fine, and he appreciated the sadhu. But somehow in his witty and humorous way, he also remarked that everything is okay, but aren't you too attached to your detachment? The mother goes on to say, all is beautiful, harmonious and calm. All is full of thee. Thou shinest in the dazzling sun. Thou art felt in the gentle breeze. Thou dost manifest thyself in all hearts and live in all things. So she is showing us the way to change positively, to align ourselves with every situation. And what is this alignment? Seeing the divine in that situation, that circumstance, which is now contrary. New circumstances now can be a test or a trigger for progress and further growth. This is what she's telling us. How to have a darshan of the divine every day in everything? This is what she's teaching us. We can see him in countless ways, and this is her experience in Karaikal. Even though she is physically ill, yet she's not complaining. She is resplendent with joy. And what is giving her this peace, this immutable peace, is the divine presence itself, himself. One is also reminded of Sri Aurobindo's prayer, who? So beautiful the poem is. In the blue of the sky, in the green of the forest, whose is the hand that has painted the globe? When the winds are asleep in the wombs of ether, who was it roused them and bade them to blow? So in everything, one is also, the mother is making us aware that be it anything, the divine is there. And this opening comes only when we surrender completely to the divine. She says, there is not an animal, a plant that does not speak to me of thee, and thy name is written upon everything I see. The mother actually, right from the beginning, she used to live in this consciousness only. So now when she is also experiencing this complete freedom from the ego and utterly united with the consciousness, it is as if this new situation has come as a trigger for her now to lay the foundation for her to become the world mother. The experience starts and it culminates in seeing the divine with open eyes everywhere. It starts from here. Sri Aurobindo, in the Letters on Yoga, there is a mention in Letters on Yoga part 3, he writes, there is an inner vision that opens when one does sadhana, and all sorts of images rise before it or pass. Their coming is real and automatic. Just as your physical eyes see things in the physical world, so the inner eyes see things and images. And something similar he also writes in the Life Divine. What we become aware of is an infinite one reality constituting the tree or object. Now this is a whole passage. I'm just reading out selected lines from this whole big passage. What we become aware of is an infinite one reality constituting the tree or object, forming them out of itself. Thus each object is that infinite and one in essential being with all other objects that are also forms and names of the infinite. Now this is the grand vision, and this is also the grand vision of the Sanatana Dharma. Now when we worship, we are known, in India it is known, and in several other countries also it is known, that when we worship a river, a stone, and so many gods, a whole pantheon of 33,000 gods, 33 crores in fact, each is an object of worship. Even a snake is worshipped. Even during diseases, we invoke certain gods, Mata Shitala and all. So what is all this? Basically, it is a fullness of experience, which the Sanatana Dharma says, it is the fullness of the experience of the divine in every creature. This is what we have to recover. Now, in our ancient scriptures are full of this, and somewhere we have not lost this lineage of worshipping these. Now, some forms of monotheism when they entered, and some forms of Vedanta that almost you can say abolishes everything as the Nirguna Brahman. But the Brahman in his infinite qualities and infinite manifestations, that is what we have to recover. In Savitri, Sri Aurobindo has written, a conscious power has drawn the plan of life. There is a meaning in each curve and line. So this is what perhaps is coming out, that this grand vision, it got lost somehow. But there is a whole, you can say, whole body of truth in it, which we must see. We should not look at the external circumstances, or we should not just, you can say, it is superstition or anything, but there is a deep truth behind all these things. And Sanatana Dharma has talked in details about this. The mother further says, O my sweet Lord, hast thou granted that I may belong entirely to thee? So she is in Karaikal, in very different situations, repulsive situations, but she is saying, hast thou granted that I may belong entirely to thee, and that my consciousness may be definitely united with thine? What have I done to be worthy of so glorious a happiness? Nothing except to desire it to want it with constancy. So she has been wanting it all the time, this presence, divine presence. And she is so overwhelmed. She is asking the Lord, has it really happened? Do you consider me worthy of this? This is sheer divine humility. And she's ecstatic and she's completely overwhelmed with this presence of the divine, that, or the vision of the divine that she is now seeing in everything. And it comes with divine grace. For her, just a constant aspiration is also not enough. For us, if we have a slight aspiration, we are so full, we become so full of it, and we leave no stones unturned to talk about it in details, ask questions. But here the mother is saying, what have I done except ask for it through and throughout, constantly. And somewhere while answering a disciple, the mother herself has said that if you want something, you have to want it very sincerely. There should be no adulteration in that want. So whatever you ask for sincerely, and that itself, I think it is the heightened, you can say heightened form of aspiration. Unless we see and feel the divine in everything, and if we don't do that, we cannot truly belong to the divine. Only when we see this and feel in humility that the divine is there in everything, we truly belong to the divine. Otherwise, there always will be a division. So the mother has overcome this division, even though slight, she has always been divine. But for the sake of raising the earth consciousness, now she has to take up a new role. So everything is now telling her that you have to let go of, in fact, she herself has narrated in her prayers that when she comes to Pondicherry, she, after meeting Sri Aurobindo, she becomes like a blank page. Imagine renouncing all her siddhis and all her stupendous achievements just to work for the upliftment of the earth and be what the Lord wants her to be. She says, but O Lord, since now it is thy will and not mine that lives in me, thou wilt be able to make this happiness profitable to all. So now she's conversing, a dialogue with the divine. And its very purpose will be to enable the greatest possible number of beings to perceive this. So she's asking this state for everyone. She doesn't want to treasure it only for herself. And because she is able to see the divine in all and perceive the divine in everything, because she can become, that is why she can become a radiant instrument for the divine action. And the joy she is experiencing from sensing the divine presence in all, she can now, she knows that now she can awaken this presence in everyone. One can sense that there is a firm foundation being laid of her role as the universal mother, the world mother. She says, oh, may all know thee, love thee, serve thee. May all receive the supreme consecration. Know thee, love thee, and serve thee. The Gita talks and gives us these three tools: the head, the heart, and the hand. Gyan, bhakti, karma. This is what she is bringing out. May all be happy with the supreme happiness. What happiness she is feeling? She is aspiring and she is wanting it for everyone. Sarve bhavantu sukhina. Now here we see, interestingly, she is also pointing to something very significant about the integral yoga. That integral yoga cannot be limited only to the individual. The individual yoga, whatever she has achieved in herself, her own yoga, is now extending, and she wants it. And she knows that now she is a radiant instrument for doing this. So the individual yoga extends into the collective yoga. Collective yoga is not about having some gatherings, seminars, giving speeches, calling speakers, and coming for talks, singing, dancing, whatever it is. It is not only merely associated with the gathering. In fact, that has got nothing to do with the collective yoga. Collective yoga is when an individual extends his own realized state into others. It may be a loss to the individual. In the extreme case, it can also serve as a loss for the individual, but the individual is not bothered. The individual only knows that he is just an instrument, and in his realized state, he is invoking the divine, which is like a contagion spreading to everybody. And that's how it takes the shape of the collective yoga. There is an interesting example of a disciple who goes to a guru and he says, I want to see the divine, I want to, whatever are his queries. And so the guru gives him a mantra. And the guru tells, please don't share this mantra with anybody. And we all know that, diksha, you go to a guru to get diksha and all. So you are given a mantra. And you are not supposed to tell it to anybody. Now this disciple, he goes out and he tells everybody around that, my guru has given me a mantra through which one can realize the divine. And I want to share it with everybody, and he gives the mantra to everybody. Now when the guru comes to know it, he's enraged and he's angry. And he says, you have disobeyed me. And now you will have to do penance. Now this disciple, in all his humility, says, this mantra is meant to liberate. How can I ask for liberation for myself when there are so many others seeking liberation and have not found it? I am ready to undergo whatever punishment. And then the guru realizes that he is already an enlightened soul. So because it is what he is wishing and hoping, and whatever he has, whatever valuable thing he has or he has realized, he is ready to share it with everybody. The sentiment here is that of the Amitabha Buddha. In Sri Aurobindo's room, there is a picture of Amitabha Buddha. The mother says, O love, divine love, spread abroad in the world. Look at the words, spread abroad. Regenerate life. Life is already there, but regenerate it. Enlighten the intelligence. Break the barriers of egoism. Scatter the obstacles of ignorance. Shine resplendent as sovereign master of the earth. So regenerate life, how? Enlighten the intelligence first. When the intelligence is enlightened, the barriers of the ego can be broken. And when the barriers of the ego are broken, then all obstacles of ignorance can be shattered. And then what is left is nothing but the divine in its resplendent, or in its resplendence. This is a very meaningful prayer, and it has a deep meaning as she has realized it inside her first. Even without realizing, one can pray. And of course, the mother herself has said that every call is answered, every prayer is heard. Even without the realization, one can pray and it will have its own effect. But when one has realized, then it has the power to automatically and spontaneously spread. And the person who has realized it is in a perpetual state of prayer and nothing else. And that is why it spreads much more than when one just prays without realizing. And in this state, when she has realized the divine within and sees it in all, that is when the individual yoga is spontaneously turning into the collective yoga of the earth. A beautiful prayer, a beautiful state to be in, released from our own limits of the ego, of habits, routines. This is what the prayer is bringing out. And there is a new possibility now which has come forth for the earth. The power of the divine love would henceforth rule the creation. Let us read the prayer once more. Karaikal, April 13, 1914. Everything works together to prevent me from remaining a creature of habits, and in this new state, in the midst of these circumstances so complex and unstable, I have never before so completely lived thy immutable peace, or rather, the I has never before disappeared so completely that thy divine peace alone is alive there. All is beautiful, harmonious, and calm. All is full of thee. Thou shinest in the dazzling sun. Thou art felt in the gentle passing breeze. Thou dost manifest thyself in all hearts and live in all beings. There is not an animal, a plant that does not speak to me of thee, and thy name is written upon everything I see. O my sweet Lord, hast thou at last granted that I may belong entirely to thee, and that my consciousness may be definitively united with thine? What have I done to be worthy of so glorious a happiness? Nothing, except to desire it, to want it with constancy. That is very little. But, O Lord, since now it is thy will and not mine that lives in me, thou wilt be able to make this happiness profitable to all, and its very purpose will be to enable the greatest possible number of beings to perceive thee. O, may all know thee, love thee, serve thee. May all receive the supreme consecration. O love, divine love, spread abroad in the world, regenerate life, enlighten the intelligence, break the barriers of egoism, scatter the obstacles of ignorance, shine resplendent as sovereign master of the earth.